Thank you. Well, thank you for organizing this very interesting event, Mr. Alexiev. Actually, I'm the Turkish ambassador postane Turkey, Süleyman Gökçe. I came to hear what Dr. Pipes would say, but allow me to say I found a lot more interesting what Daniel Mitov said, because I think he was underlining on a real issue, which is obviously much larger and a lot more important, which is of larger interest to everybody. I didn't come, well, as you can imagine, I fully disagree with what Dr. Pipes said. Not a great surprise for him. We know him very well in Turkey. We know his background in his current studies and everything else. And we know his position, rather very strong position in Turkey. The reason is not for any counter-argumentation, but I came to not only to listen to him, but also for the larger benefit of the audience. Because this cherry-picking of liked facts, as Dr. Pipes likes in regard to Turkey, is not only misleading, but I think it is rather a blatant distortion which deflects the larger public opinion. He has referred to an alleged coup. Then he said he supported the coup, if I'm not mistaken, which was a very bloody one. Dr. Pipes knows this very well, sir, which cost lives of 243 people. I have not seen any other coup in the world where F-16 fighters drop bombs on civilian protesters trying to resist, or a national parliament bombed, as Dr. Pipes has not referred to, perhaps knowingly and consciously. Not only that, but over 2,000 people were left wounded as well. The Turkish economy is obviously not in free fall, as Dr. Pipes has neglected to underline. It has registered, rather unhappily for some, the third largest growth rate in Q1 this year. You may or may not know, after China and India. Again, the idea is not to argue. I think, well, we know, Dr. Pipes, you happen to be an essentialist, actually. Not only an Orientalist, as you like to characterize yourself, essentialist in the sense that we know you have very strong views about Islam, about Turkey, and not necessarily constructive. But we're living in a world, fortunately or unfortunately, where we need to coexist and cohabitate, and through peaceful means, of course. I do not agree on any of the points you have raised, to be very honest with you, because there is a flip side of the coin, as you know very well. Now, the idea, obviously, is not to deal with trivia, not all of these things. I think it is more important to put things in perspective, in correct perspective, and try to understand what's been happening in Turkey and why, not necessarily from the obverse, but also from reverse. Also to see the larger picture, what's been happening in EU, in the larger Middle East or the Mediterranean basin, or Russia perhaps, if you like, and why and how Turkey plays a central role. Actually, it's a reference country, because as Dr. Pipes, I would have rather heard this, but I do not know any other country in the world which manages to tackle with bloody terrorism, as you know very well, which has been very much missing in your speech. PKK, PYD, Daesh, ISIL, whatever kind. And over a dozen major attacks last year. And a country which has survived a failed bloody coup. And still a growing economy. And also managed a cross-border operation in lovely Syria. So this makes Turkey a stronger reference country, which you must be really happy about, because take Turkey out of the map and try to visualize and imagine what might happen. And this also happens at a time where Turkey happens to be the country, the only country, which hosts about over 3.5 million refugees in the world. So I think it will be in fairness and for the benefit of the larger audience, it would be better to have a complete, rather more complete as possible, presentation. But anyway, I do not know if you're disliked or if you're not wanted in Turkey, although I have seen in your video your spat with the Turkish ambassador in Tel Aviv, but I have no idea. But they allow me to put these on the record, again, for the benefit of the large audience. It's not that you need to reply to that. But I think it's really important that we have larger issues to talk about, larger issues of larger interest of the larger audience. Thank you again. I appreciate the time and the right to speak. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Do you want to answer now? Or?
Down.
Well, I thank Ambassador Gökçe for his comments, and I will reply to 5 specific.
He has his own strong comments.
First, about the coup that I said I supported when I thought it was real, and I called it alleged. I'm not sure that it was faked, but as time goes on, and it's nearly a year now, more and more evidence has come out to suggest that it was faked. That is to say, not that the individuals who were flying planes or active, excuse me, not that they were thinking it was fake, but that the higher levels knew that this was something that they were doing in concert with the regime. This is hardly unique. It happened as long ago as 1933 in the Reichstag fire, and it happened apparently yesterday in Venezuela, where a pilot came and dropped bombs on the Supreme Court. Yet the consensus in Venezuela is that this was fake. I don't know for sure, but there's so many specifics, such as the fact that fighter planes had the airplane the civilian airplane that Erdogan was in locked in and didn't do anything. If this was a real coup, they would have shot it. So I don't know. I'm agnostic. I call it alleged. I'm not sure if it happened or not. The economy, I didn't say it's in free fall. I said there are danger signs. The high growth rates of the past have diminished, and given the turmoil, I believe that further troubles are ahead. It's not in free fall. We agree on that. As for my being an essentialist or an orientalist, well, they're quite different. An essentialist is someone who sees things not changing over time. I am a historian, indeed, an early medieval historian. My PhD is on the first 2 centuries of Islam, Fajr al-Islam, an institution of the use of slaves as soldiers, Habib, Ghulam, Mamalik, and Yenichiri. I am not an essentialist. I see things changing over time, and indeed, one of the things I keep saying is that one has to see change over time. People tend not to. Non-historians tend to extrapolate backwards and forwards and see everything similar to what it is today, and I say no. On the other hand, I do, you're correct, say that I'm an Orientalist. I think that is a great word. It's a privilege to be called that. Edward Said himself, the man who made Orientalism into a bad word, called me personally a bad word, and I have very good pride. Orientalists were individuals who studied very hard, learned difficult languages, devoted their lives to interpreting texts. It's not quite who I am, but I consider it a privilege to be called Orientalist. Finally, fourthly, about terrorism. You know, this is a word I've stopped using, in part because of its use in Turkey. If I were Turkish and I signed a petition against the government, I would be a terrorist. That doesn't seem to me a very good use of the term. As a Turk told me just a few days ago, somebody who drinks a glass of wine can be considered a terrorist. This term is promiscuous. Anybody, everybody is a terrorist. Yes, the Turkish government has fought the PKK and its affiliates, has fought Daesh, ISIS. Yes, it fought against the coup makers. Yeah, I agree, that's not an argument there, but I also would point out, most importantly, that there's support to ISIS. There's such extensive indications that the Turkish government helped ISIS, sent trunks, food, ammunition, took in wounded soldiers, provided access to foreign fighters, and so forth. So, and indeed, two very eminent editors are in jail because they reported on this. So yeah, there's fighting terrorism, but there's also helping terrorism, especially Daesh. And finally, about the refugees, yes, Turkey does have a substantial number of refugees, and yes, they are quite well treated. I agree with that. Certainly, I'd rather be a Syrian refugee in Turkey than in Lebanon or Jordan, better circumstances. On the other hand, Turkey has used the refugees as a lever of power against Europe, and still implicitly continues to do so, unless the Europeans, and specifically the German government, do the bidding of Ankara. Who knows? Who knows who will be let go and how and when. So, yeah, you're right. There are many points I didn't cover, but I don't think anything you raised contradicts my fundamental argument that these three goals of Islam, Turkey, and Erdogan are fundamentally incompatible. Finally, if I might ask the Ambassador, so may I come to Turkey? Well, can I go there and not be arrested? Or would I be in trouble if I went? I would love to go. I fear that if I went, I would be arrested.
May I just have a follow-up question before I violate? Just a very quick one.
Short one, please.
Not a question, but a remark.
I made it very clear, it's not my intention to argue, but when you go into distortion, deflection, and delusion of something, Turkey is not a supporter of terrorism, sir, and you know this very well. So with all due respect, I do not find this an academic, if you like, presentation. And Turkey is, well, again, I do not want to really get into about your already known and well established, which you also boast, you know, connections and ideas. But I do not think any speaker of a PhD degree, a doctoral degree, should have the freedom to forward allegations, unsubstantiated, uncorroborated, and not verified. All of these things, and you know that this is a very political thing. So in order not to, you know, change the quality of the panel, Mr. Alexia, allow me to stop here. But all these marginal views are perfectly undermined time and again, many times. And interestingly, they have also been forwarded by the Fethullah Gülen terrorist organization supporters elsewhere. So let me stop there.
Okay, very short answer.
Short answer. Well, I hope the ambassador noticed that I did not characterize his views in any way, did not say it was distorted, deflecting, or delusional. I hope you will give me the privilege of asserting I have no connections to the Gülen organization. I'm not a Muslim, I'm not a member of the Gülen organization. You have your facts, which I in large part accepted, and I have my interpretation, which obviously you don't like. But I find it alarming that you should say that, quote, a PhD should not have the freedom to say what I said. Indeed, that is the hallmark of a dictatorship, and that's why I began my remarks by saying how proud I am to be in Bulgaria, where I have the freedom. I may be wrong, I may be right, but I don't think anyone's going to come arrest me. It's a very important thing. This is what one doesn't have. Turkey has more journalists in jail than any other country on terrorism charges, believe it or not. But I ask again, may I go to Turkey without fear? Can you give me assurances, or can you not?
Okay, now we go on. You want to say something, Eliana?
I want to ask you a question. We appreciate that you're here, and we respect different views. Now, we have Ambassador Gökçe